Hey, what's up? It's me, Jamie Taylor from The Block. Welcome to The Block Talk. It's the first episode of the year 2019, and I have a very special guest, Arkansas's favorite news, football, real estate, public figure.
It's like my new hype man. I like
Right.
it. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah. Keep it going.
Where's my clock? It's DJ Williams. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's crazy how we met in class.
Yes, we
and
did.
now we're here
Yes.
chopping it up.
Yes, which is exactly why I kind of wanted to really get my base to know who you were, because some are out of state, some are in state. But you and I were in real estate class together, and that is not the first time I saw you. The first time I saw you, I was watching football with my husband,
There you
and
go.
he is a huge Arkansas Razorbacks fan. So let's start at the very beginning and take me to how you got to the Razorbacks, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, how I got to the Razorbacks. Obviously, I'm dabbled in playing football, but
You're all right.
before that even happened, I was a big basketball guy. Like, I drink Sprite because Kobe drinks Sprite. And, I just thought I was going to be the next big thing in the NBA, and I stopped, getting taller, and I started getting a little wider. I used to be a chunky guy, you know what I mean?
Really?
I used to smash, those white powdered donuts from the gas station?
Yes, I do.
They had like a pack of 30, smash those and like chase it with chocolate milk. That was my style back in the day. Yeah, so football started being my little outlet. I didn't really take football seriously or really play it till my 9th grade year at high school. And then I even wanted to quit at that time because I had to play football. And if I did that, I couldn't be in the band, because I'm a big band guy. You know what I mean?
What instrument?
I was percussion, and I played the keyboard in the jazz band.
That is
So I
awesome.
couldn't do both, because the time where I had to go to practice to either one. So my mom said, give football a try. If you don't like it, I'll make an excuse and help you quit. And so that happened.
What a cool mom.
And she wouldn't let me quit. So I'm glad she didn't, because now it turned out to be something good. Got offers started coming in. I was just like, wow, these people actually think I'm good at this sport. Then I actually started trimming up a little bit, started to, get a little bit more workouts in. Went from defensive line to playing tight end. And then before you know it, Houston Nutt came walking through my hallways at school. I was like, what's going on? This is nuts, man. This is crazy. And before you know it, I was a Razorback.
That is amazing. So my question, though, because you mentioned your mom and you talked about you were in high school at this point. So like on the way up, did you play like Pop Warner or youth football? Or
No. Before I moved to Arkansas, I lived in Texas. And we lived in Texas with my dad. A lot of people may know the story about my dad. He's in prison, been there for like the past 24 years. We had some big time family issues. But mostly, he always taught me how to play basketball. So it was just basketball. He really didn't even want me to dabble in football. And, I really wasn't mad about it, because I just love playing basketball.
Right.
But after some things popped up that forced us to get out of a bad family situation and move to Arkansas, man, I really didn't have too many father figures in my life. I could only find them via sports in the form of coaches.
Right.
I have good ones, I've had bad ones, but I really started to latch on to these men and great role models and, teach me how to become a man and have good character. And it just happens to be one of my favorite coaches. Yeah, I hate saying this because I love them all.
Yeah.
But happened to be a guy named Tim Perry, who was the football coach at CAC where I went to high school.
Yeah.
And so that's where I really gravitated to staying and sticking with football.
Oh, I just got goosebumps everywhere because my son goes to CAC and we just went to 6th grade adventure where you go to Mustang Mountain and you learn about the coaches.
Mustang Mountain.
Oh yeah, back to that later. So okay, so that tells me you moved to Arkansas. Is your mom? So your mom were you single mom situation?
She was single mom situation. We moved here to get out of a domestic violence situation. So we stayed at a shelter for women and children who needed to get out of a bad spot. So it was me and my middle sister, Vanessa. Our oldest sister, Valerie, she was a little older and she had a kid already, stayed behind in Texas. So we stayed in the shelter until my mom could get back up on her feet. Then, we got our first house off the Levy exit in North Little Rock. And ever since then, just been moving 1,000 miles an hour in the right direction.
Right. That is so inspiring. And this is one of the reasons I don't ever prep for an interview, because
There
I
you
like
go.
to find out, from you directly kind of how your story went. And I really, really like that because I'm just inspired by the fact that your mom had to pick up and then raise you kind of on her own and your sisters, put you through school, a private school, make sure that you've got all these things around you to build you up and give you faith and teach you to be a man. And boy, it sure worked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did work. And that's my favorite thing. I do a lot of school talks. I'll go and talk to all these corporations. And a lot of people already somewhat know me just from the personality on TV or playing sports. But then when I dig down into like saying, well, before I got here, listen to this.
Right.
And these kids are just like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? couldn't put two and two together. And I really like showing the separation of like these kids that fall victim to this idea of I'm a product of my environment. You know,
Yeah.
if my dad did drugs, if my dad beat my mom, if my dad's in prison, then I'll most likely follow in those footsteps as well. And a lot of people believe that. And that's just ludicrous to me, because I think we all are born with a sense of what's right and what's wrong. Because I remember watching all those terrible moments when we were younger, and at no point I was like saying this is right. You know, I knew it was wrong from the get-go, and I know I didn't want that life. So I made the choices and decisions to put me where I am today.
Yeah. So you're speaking to me in such a, you have no idea what you're saying right now to me, because I'm a single parent who has been raising my son after, you know, a situation that kind of forced us to start over.
There you go. Look at this.
When
Two
he
peas.
was, yeah, right. So when
yeah.
he was 4 years old, I kind of knew, came from a product of, there's not a lot of faith. I don't really know where to start. And so I just kind of, I put him in Christian school because I thought, well, if I don't give it to him, he'll get it here.
Yeah.
And in time, that ended up turning my whole life the opposite direction. And it's funny because that's, I mean, I'm just totally blown away because it's a very similar story, and I can relate because domestic violence is something kids deal with all the time. And sometimes it's not domestic violence physically. Sometimes they're dealing with emotional abuse.
It's a big mental thing. And
right.
I think that happens more often than not. And it goes both ways. It's not just, you know, men towards women. Sometimes it's women towards men. You know, but I'm glad you put your son in that environment, you know, in a Christian school.
He better play for the Razorbacks.
Yeah.
And then no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's set up to do it. You know, but one thing I did learn, you know, I'm a big man of faith. And, you know, growing up in those situations, you know, going to church just wasn't like it. If we did go, I just went because I think this is what people do. Right. I wouldn't say, you know, I was a believer. But even after all that, you know, and start surrounding myself with these coaches and role models, and at some point I remember asking myself, like, why are they, you know, going out of the way to do nice things for me? And I was kind of hesitant at first because I wasn't used to having a male figure in my life sacrifice so much. My father's just selfish, you know, when you look at the fundamental issue, and insecure in so many ways. And these coaches, you know, would just go above and beyond for me. And not just me. I would say I'd stood out a little bit in the athletic department of it. Right. But they were like that with every single kid on the football team. You know, if they were a starter or if they were a bench warmer, it didn't matter. And I was just like, man, why are these people so selfless? Why do they care about, you know, what they do for other people and not what they do for themselves? And I just started surrounding myself with people that had a strong faith background. And then I really started to wanting to learn more, start to build that relationship. And I got baptized my senior year in high school, you know? And then I realized, like, that whole time I thought, you know, we were on our own. It was just my mom. You know, I wasn't a believer. I was just like, man, he was with me the whole time, you know, and I didn't even know it. Yeah. And when I look back, I see that's where he was in my life. That's where he was in my life. So these people who struggle with, you know, their purpose or what they believe in, I would just encourage them to take a step back and, you know, really look at some pivotal moments in their life, and it's almost impossible to see that you're not alone. He's with you the whole time.
Right. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Can you look back on a moment in your life, and like, besides when you chose in high school, can you look back, like, as a kid when you're struggling in those times? Because that's a big thing, is kids are right in the middle of it. Yeah. And I can't really imagine going back, because I'm past it, and I know my son's past it. Like, can you imagine they go to school and they're dealing with this in their mind all day? What are you going to say to those kids or those moms? Like, how do you comfort that kid through that period? And, you know, what words are going to suffice?
Yeah, it's just, I believe every kid, and if it comes in the form of their mom, dad, you know, grandma, mentors at school, I think counselors at school have such a huge role in some of these kids' lives, because they can give them something that's just not present in their own home. And just to sometimes trust and have somewhat of a faith in knowing that some people out there actually have my best interest at heart. And for some kids, it's so hard for them to trust people because they'll get let down. And I think that's encouraging to some kids, because, like, it shows you the true value of people who won't let you down, you know? Right. And so, I mean, I would just say, I've been there before. It's so hard to open yourself up after you've been damaged like that so much. But sometimes just say, you know what, let your guard down and see what happens.
Find the one person you can trust.
Yeah.
Trust them. So all the way through this, you get baptized, you move in this new way of life. You are so happy and excited, and you are recruited straight onto the Arkansas Razorback football team.
Yeah.
And so tell me from there how you got here.
Yeah, so freshman year, I was just like a deer in headlights. I remember
Us
that.
too.
Yeah, walking out.
There he goes.
Yeah, walking out, running out of the A for the first time. It was nuts because, I'm standing next to Darren McFadden and Felix Jones. I'm fanboying the whole time.
Yeah, I'm
I'm just
fanboying
like,
right
oh my
now,
gosh,
so.
And then I remember first kickoff, I was just like, I might get killed out here. I mean, it's crazy. So it was pretty fun, and it's exciting that you can't really describe that feeling unless you've been there before. And then we had a coaching change and a little adversity hit. I loved Houston Nutt. And then we had a guy named Bobby Petrino come in. And we were just not on the same page. Because you got to think, my comfort level came via relationships I had with coaches. These are my father figures.
Right.
Petrino was not that person at all. All right. But he had an interesting way of how he reached his players. And so he came in, dog cussing, saying all this stuff. I'm like, what's this dude's problem? I'm trying to transfer to Ole Miss. I tried. I sat down, went to his office, said, I'm leaving the University of Arkansas. I talked to Houston Nutt, who's now at Ole Miss. And, Bobby was talking about it was going to be more difficult than I thought because you had to be released in order to play the next year. And that set out 2 years. And Houston was just like, give it a spring ball, see how that goes. And if you still want to transfer, do what's best for you. I was like, that's cool. And we had these workouts. They're called Full Metal Jackets. Full Metal Fridays, based off the movie Full Metal Jacket. So a little intense.
Ooh,
I didn't know what to think.
It was
the
intense.
first team workout with Bobby Petrino. And I'm in this sand pit, all right? And, before I get in the sand pit, we have a group of about 40 of us. They split us down the middle, 20 and 20. And we had a partner. And my partner was Lucas Miller. He played receiver at the University of Arkansas. But they split us up at the beginning of the workout, put them in one room, and put us in a completely different part of the indoor arena. And we started off in the sand pit, and we had these sleds, and they were weighted down behind us. And I see a couple people go, and they get real tired. I was like, oh, that's going to be tough. Yeah, that'll be tricky. It's my turn. I put on the sled. I'm like, I'm going to kill this, make a good first impression. Well, the bozo before me slanted the sled down just a little bit to where when I took off, it dug underneath the sand.
Oh, no.
And so I looked back. I was like, oh, let me go put this on top of the sand. I reached to, take my little strap off, and I hear, this voice come out of nowhere, but it was, compiled of an arrangement of cuss words I've never even heard put together before. It was impressive. I'm not even sure what was going on. And it was Bobby Petrino.
In a different language?
It was. I'm assuming it meant don't touch that sled. So I put it back on, and I'm just digging and I'm digging and I'm digging and I'm digging. And I remember putting my head down and said, you know what, you're gonna finish this. You're gonna get to the end. So I closed my eyes and legit gave it everything I had to where, I'm starting to sweat. It's stinging in my eyes. My legs completely go out. And I open my eyes and move maybe 5 yards. It's unreal. I got 35 more yards to go. This is a 40-yard long pit. So long story, very short, after my teammates literally grabbed me by the arms and I'm mentally checked out and completely gave up because I just knew this wasn't possible. I get to the end and I'm so exhausted I can barely even stand up. I'm just laid out. And then the strength coach says, go get your partner. And I was just like, I forgot we even had partners. So I was like, what's he been doing this whole time, relaxing? So I got up. My teammates helped me walk to the other room to where he was. What they didn't tell us before this workout was that when I got in the sand pit, my partner had to do bear crawls down this 20-foot hill, and he couldn't stop until I finished. And they didn't tell us that. And when I walked in there and I saw Lucas, he looked like he was dead. I thought he was dead. He had 6 offensive linemen holding him up by his shirt because he was just so tired and he couldn't stop. And then I was just like, that's how Bobby Petrino coaches. And that moment, I realized that when I gave up and I couldn't find a way to finish, I wasn't just giving up on myself. I was giving up on my teammates as well. And that just completely changed my whole perspective about my work ethic. And I used to want to be the best for me. Now I just wanted to be the best for my teammates. And it's crazy how everything fell into place after that. I ended up becoming the best tight end in college football because I was playing for my teammates. And it all stemmed from that one moment.
Yeah, can you never leave?
Yeah.
That is such an incredible story. That is great. But it makes me feel like people don't make those decisions typically. People don't make those decisions. They get to the point where they found what they want. Okay, I'm playing college football. This coach comes in. I'm going to do it his way. Okay, I don't like this. I quit.
Yeah.
I quit. I'm not going to keep going.
Yeah.
What makes you keep going? How did you decide, okay, that's fine. This isn't going to work for me. The coach isn't going to work. I'm still going to pursue my dream.
Yeah. My mom, when you look at what she has done to get us to that point, I can't imagine, leaving a job, no money, not knowing where you're going to live. You just literally pack up and you're moving to a place you've never been before, and you're responsible for 3 kids. You know, you're sharing one room with 2 other families and at a shelter. And for her to get us back up on our feet and even get me to the point to where I'm dying in that sand pit is just unreal. It's like impossible to give up when you know you have someone like that in your life. And are you familiar with Passion of the Christ? There's one scene in there, and it's very visual. I remember watching that for the first time with my mom when, you know, he's getting the beating. And, you know, I don't know how accurate it is, if it's true or not, but it's the way that I see my God and the way I see Jesus. He gets beat so bad to where he falls down on his knees, and it looks like, you know, they're going to stop whipping him. But he stood back up. It's because he still had more. And I think that just kind of, in my mind, let me know that no matter how bad and how tough the situation is going to get, he's always going to get back up and have our back. And so that's just kind of like why I refuse to quit in a lot of areas in my life, because the only thing I've found out is that I'm eventually going to figure it out, and it's going to do nothing but make me a stronger individual. And I've learned way more from failing in life than I've had from succeeding. And so it's almost like I get pumped up when I see a situation that's going to be hard. Like, ooh, I might fail. Let's go for it. You know, it's just crazy how the mindset changes. Yeah.
Like, this is going to suck. I'm going to grow.
Yeah. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Yeah. That's inspiring to me. And I appreciate that story. So I will say that now, all of this time later, so your mom got you there, and and then you played professional football. Then now you've got to settle down and pick a career, right? And move into a totally different arena of life so that you can maybe grow up and kind of get married and have babies and do that whole thing. Shout out. So
I hear you.
So I think I want to ask you why you chose real estate and whatever happened to that house on Levy anyway.
Oh yeah, so I drive by it every once in a while. There used to be a rope swing in the front yard, and they took the rope swing down. But I remember our first night in that house at Levy. We didn't have any furniture. When we finally got it, we just was like, we have a place of our own. No furniture, anything. But my mom took us down to the CD warehouse. I think it's right where the Rallies is on JFK and whatever that is going up to the hill.
I know exactly where the Rallies is.
There was the CD warehouse, and I bought like the Boyz II Men or Genuine CD. I can't remember which one it was. And my sister bought she bought Christina Aguilera. So we listened to Genie in a Bottle the first night in that house. And so every time I hear it, I get emotional. They're like, why are you getting emotional when you hear Genie in a Bottle?
You should see what happens when I hear In Those Jeans.
It's a good one. So like, I still drive by that house, so many good memories, and it's crazy how that felt like a home, and there was not even furniture in it. It was just a place that we felt safe we can call our own. And, you know, now doing real estate, getting into the news, it's just yet another task and something else you have to be competitive in, something you have to take a risk in, things you have to learn how to be like, dang, these 2 months weren't good. You know what I mean? You know, but you just have to keep working and trust the process. And I would say the biggest thing that I took from football mostly was what happened in the NFL. I learned how to deal with failure and success. You know, I got successful, got drafted, got a nice little hefty signing bonus. I was just like, I made it. I finally made it. Went cruise control. Didn't even know it. You know what I mean? And so like, I'm over here trying to figure out, dang, these people, it's becoming a little bit harder to keep up. You know, I'm not getting as many reps as I want. And then I got cut in my third year. I was like, man, what happened? It must be politics. You know, I got picked back up by the Jaguars. That was horrible. All right. And so 8 weeks later, we get back from London after playing the 49ers. I get called into the coach's office. He's like, DJ, man, you've been doing great, but we're going to need you to get your stuff. We're going to cut you. I'm like, Dad, gum. What's going on? You know? And now I'm at the house just chilling. And then I was just like, man, that was my fault. I got really comfortable. I didn't continue to do what got me to that point. And I started slacking. And just like in business or work or real estate, you know, some people get a little taste of success and sometimes stop doing what made them successful. And all these other people, they're just grinding and they're grinding. Now they're keeping up. Now they're passing you. And you're just like, whoa, what's going on? Like, we're entitled to have success. It's something you have to continue to work at. And then once I got picked up by New England, I was like, all right, that's it. You know what I mean? I got a situation. Forget that. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can. worked my way up into the second tight end position. I'm in a huddle with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, and we would connect in practice, and me and Tom had a handshake where we used to go like this and double salute, and I would play it cool, but inside I'm just like, dude, that's Tom Brady.
You touched him, can I touch your hand?
Yeah, and then, and I worked so hard, and right before our first preseason game, this big defensive lineman from Washington came down on my ankle, high ankle sprain. I was out for 10 weeks. They called me in and cut me. And that time it was a lot different than when I got cut, because I was like, man, I did everything I possibly could. And things sometimes happen out of your control. How are you going to respond with your attitude and your effort moving forward? And so it's just crazy how this whole time I thought it had to be football. And now I have a career where I've used all those lessons I learned and be like, I'm just going to keep grinding. And now I wake up every morning and just be myself and get paid for it. And that's unreal to me. You know what I mean? And I love it,
Yeah.
and especially for a kid who was in a shelter, who was super shy, who had all these horrible things going in their life. And I get to sit back and be like, man, people watch the show and me just being me is enough. And it's just unreal. So people who are going through struggles, you're supposed to go through struggles because it's going to make you ready for that one moment.
So you have to ride the roller coaster, and you can.
You have no choice.
You can either do the whole shut your eyes and just this is awful, or you can just might as well, right?
You'll probably do both.
Yeah.
But as long as you stay on it, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd be shaking hands with Tom Brady
Oh yeah. I mean, I still and then I met his wife. Oh my gosh, she's a pretty one to look at too.
Yeah.
She has a strong little accent. She's like, honey, eat no rice and beans. I was like, girl, you're gone now.
I don't know. Just have Tom toss me that remote over
there.
Right? Get comfortable. Yes. So, and that's the thing that blows my mind because we talked about it a little bit before we started recording about real estate and about how you got into it. And so my thought is initially you didn't know, where home was ever going to be at some point. So then now you have this control in a situation where you can buy and sell properties.
Yeah.
You can help your community. You flip property. I happen to know that, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the opportunity to improve homes, improve your community.
Yeah.
How does that tie into your business, or do you have an aspect where you get to do some of that on the side as well?
Well, first of all, with real estate, I learned real quick that people are just like, DJ, you just need to get in real estate. People love you. They're going to just let you sell their houses and yada, yada, yada. So I was like, I'll get my license. Didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Just like anything else, it doesn't matter who you are, where you've been, what you've done. These people are going to invest a lot of money in a property, and they want someone they can trust.
Absolutely.
They want someone who's not going to sit there and just give them the beat around the bush answers. They can see past that. They'll be like, they want somebody who knows what they're doing. It took me a year to figure that out. Then I started just digging into it. And it's crazy how it's a business of referrals. Every time my clients are just like, we thought it was going to be hard, this whole home buying process. And they said that was the easiest thing I've ever done. But what they didn't see me was just going nuts, on the phone at night doing these contracts, making sure I took care of all that for them. Ever since that started happening, business really started taking off. And then it's crazy because, living in a shelter, you know what I mean? And moving into that home for the first time, I know that feeling it is when somebody gets a new home. And I was just like, man, I get to give this to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it makes me just love it.
I think you should start giving away the Christina Aguilera Genie in the Bottle album
For
as a closing
for
gift.
A closing
yeah,
gift?
I think it would be great just so they can hear that track.
Yeah,
I mean,
they may look
that
at me
would
like,
be-
I don't know what this kid's got going on, but yeah, we'll listen to it.
Yeah.
It's a special thing.
But that's the thing is I appreciate that about you getting into this industry because that's kind of for me, I grind kind of on the other side of things and we know my story. This is amazing. I really just cannot believe that you've chosen this career. And so I guess my thought is, and this is kind of just what I've been thinking for the past few months, is real estate's allowing us a platform to go into communities and talk to people because people do love you and they do want to hear what you have to say. And you have the opportunity to say, hey, by the way, if you want to own a home, this is how you do it. This is where you get credit. This is where you earn, and you kind of go from there and coach them up. Have you seen from the time that you've spent in real estate, and how many years have you been in?
Just 3 years now?
Okay,
Just hitting 3 years?
Still a rookie.
Yeah, still a little rook.
Yeah.
Learning my ways.
Yeah, well, I did what you did. I got the license and held it for a while. So I'm like a 6-year rookie.
It
you
happens.
know what I mean?
Yeah, it happens. Uh-huh.
But anyways, what I was going to say is, so how do we start, at least with some of the problems in Little Rock? And we're talking about throughout the entire city, there are multiple vacant homes, and there's not even a specific area. There's lots of things that are boarded up. We have a new mayor. We have all these new things that are supposed to be going on in the city. We as professionals, where do we start?
I think it's just educating the people. I'm surprised about how many people just in normal situations in life when we're doing real estate transactions, I'm representing a buyer, right? And they're like, okay, so I pay you the 6%, right? And they pay their agent the 6%. I was just like, no, like it's 12%. Sounds nice, you know what I mean? It's like, well, what about this? What about this? It's just so many things in real estate. And real estate's a really good investment, you know what I mean? For, people to put themselves in good financial situations. And there's just so much they don't know of it, how they could take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And even people who really care about the city, who have the means to maybe go into Little Rock and these places with these boarded up places and invest in that community. And it's just crazy when you can give to a community that doesn't have much, how they'll hold on to it, And I've seen that just because I've grown up in inner city Little Rock, grown up in these houses with people who have absolutely nothing. When you give them something and show them that, hey, we can have nice things too, they will find a way to hold on to it. Yeah. And I think some people just think it's sad that, well, it's their fault during these situations, or if they want a better life, then they can just, get up, work hard, go. For the most part, yeah, I get it. I understand. But some people are just dealt a really poor hand, and right. And they can't do anything about it. Because I couldn't imagine where we would be without that if we didn't have people lend out a hand to us. You know what I mean? So yeah, for every 10 favors you give, 9 people may let you down, but that one person can make such a huge impact in so many people's lives. And I try to be that person because
you are that person.
I was that person that took that handout.
Yeah, you are that person. Mm-hmm. But that's the whole thing about it is you're talking about education for the neighborhoods and for the people within that. And so I feel like a responsibility to do that. And I feel like maybe even maybe he's going to do our Friday show. Maybe we can provide something to that effect. Because I feel like where it's missing is because real estate is perceived as a very wealthy career where everyone just wears really fancy suits and goes around it, except for me.
Well, I got off work. That's
different. You work for the news. But yeah, so I just feel like, though, it's perceived totally different than it is. Because, first of all, it's a ton of work, right?
Yeah,
it's not like we just make a couple phone calls and sign a little contract. But the other part is it's a lot of research. It's a lot of understanding the neighborhood. It's a lot of knowing what's appropriate to build there, remodel there, buy there, spend there. And so how do we give them that education? I mean, I guess we could podcast it or produce it. But, I mean, what is the thing that they need? I mean, do they need education on lending? Do we need to start, even before that?
I think lending and figuring out there are ways to get help. For people some people just think the idea, me buy a home? No way. There are ways, but it just comes with you being extremely responsible, know? But like I said, once you give someone something, for the most part, they will cherish it, you know what I mean? And find every way possible to make it happen. Will there be some people that slip up and, fall through the cracks and you have to start over again? Yeah, but I don't think that should keep people from, really getting out there trying to educate folks. And even people who do have money, are so hesitant about investing in inner city. It's a bad part of town. It's, so many violent people. You have to worry about things getting broken into. I mean, that's anywhere. And, and most of the people that say that have never even been there and met these people. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's just, I think from both ends, from people on the very, back against the wall spectrum and people who have everything and more, to just educate themselves, Right. And now the tricky part is how do you go about doing that, like you've been asking? And I think it just starts with, doing stuff like this, putting it out there in mainstream. Everything's on social media nowadays.
And
you know
that's
what
the
I mean?
that's the whole mission of the Block Talk is when we started this podcast originally, the goal was we're going to interview local people and we're going to get to know them and hear their story. And that's fun and everything.
Yeah.
But what can we do with it once we have it, right? So we started to turn the direction of how do we actually take this and move it?
Yeah.
And so meeting you and talking to you and hearing your story tells me that we have some work to do in the city together, especially because with the new mayor being like our age, we could like tweet him, what I mean, or text him and be like, hey, And
I'm about to say social media has changed the game and it makes... like I said, the hardest part is just getting the information out there.
Right.
Well, it's not as hard anymore because everybody has a phone in their hand. And, so you say, where do you start? I think it starts right here with this conversation because one person's going to be like, hey, did you hear that? That person said, like, we could potentially buy a house, and help our community. That's how it starts.
That's where, so my husband just got done and he is the best. And I don't know about you, but so I'll get involved with the client and we're friends. We're having a great time and we get to that contract place and we close the house and then I'm on to the next one. And sometimes it doesn't take as long, right?
Yep.
We had a client that took him, I think, 5.5 months to close from start to finish because it wasn't even a matter of shopping. It was a matter of the loan program. So we used a loan program through the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, but it paid for the home inspection, the appraisal, the down payment cost. The guy came to closing with like $300 and bought his first home.
Yeah.
And
that says a lot about you as an agent because
or Joey.
as an agent, because there are there's deals that will just be so stressful, and you may some agents look at the commission and be like, nah, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth that one. But the agents who will go through all that and barely make anything on that commission, the impact it will make on that person, and then the people they know, to let them know, hey, we can do this too. It's just huge. You know what I mean? And it's, as agents, it's hard for us not to do what we do, is try our best not to look at that dollar sign so much, and just look at the person and putting them in a place that they can call home.
I feel like we have that in common in our business, because that's something that I noticed you, and then you work with Diana Dominguez, right?
Yeah.
She is so
a rock star.
And she's sweet, like the sweetest person ever.
So nice.
Like whenever either one of you call, I'm like, yeah, show whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll tell them. They're going to be happy to see you. It's fine.
I love it.
So that's good. Okay, well, so I'm going to have some fun questions then, because it sounds like we've got some work to do when we get done with this recording. Favorite current football player for the Arkansas Razorbacks?
Oh, okay. Favorite current
You can pick basketball too.
Player. I want to stick with football.
I'm just making sure, because the basketball kid's really good too.
Let me think. It's been a rough year. It has been a rough year.
Maybe you should
that.
go back. I'm a fifth year.
From this past team, I really love Dre Greenlaw. Okay. The LSU game really stood out with me, because he was pretty much playing almost on a broken foot, limping around, but like the kid just does not know how to quit, and you talk about somebody who leaves it all out there and sets the example. Dre Greenlaw is a special kid, so I really like him.
Okay, so he probably played Full Metal Friday.
Oh, yeah, he would have been all about it. Yeah,
exactly.
That's his thing.
Okay, so if you had to play one-on-one basketball against anybody in the world, even Kobe, who would you choose to play one-on-one basketball with? And they're in their prime.
In their prime?
And you're in your prime.
Who would I want to play against?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'd love to play against like Barack Obama. That'd be pretty solid.
That was so the opposite direction. I thought you were going to pick like an NBA player. That's
he's a big basketball guy.
Is he pretty good? Did you ever watch him on video?
He has a nice shot. You know what I mean? And he always does that. I would love to just dunk on him. It'd be like, how many people could say I dunked on a president? That'd be pretty solid. You know what I mean?
You know what?
And I think he would be athletic enough in his prime to make it very competitive. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, I want to play you one-on-one.
Not dominate you.
If you had yeah, you wish. If I had it's Jamie with the Rock.
Yeah.
Jamie. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Question about one more thing with sports too. I was going to say. Okay. So Tommy Norman was one of our previous guests, and we talked about having a basketball tournament here in town, and it made us kind of think about Hoop Fest, and that used to be here in Little Rock, and we thought about recreating that with like a March Madness with like a basketball tournament. If you had to pick two players local to Little Rock, two people on your team, and I'm not available, who do you pick for your 3-on-3 team?
Joe Adams and Joe Johnson, both back in Little Rock right now. I think Joe just wrapped up his career. Joe Johnson, that is, one of the best basketball players that come through Arkansas, made a butt ton of money, and probably one of the most humblest guys I've ever, come across. And Joe Adams, if you're a Razorback football fan, you know Joe Adams. He's probably the most athletic person I have ever seen. And he went to CAC as well. So it was some fun times playing at CAC.
Well, I was about to say, because CAC is getting a lot of love today, and I will say two things about that. First of all, I didn't actually realize that the Cross was a CAC until yesterday. We've been there for 2 years. And then the other thing that I was going to say is the girl from UConn, what's her name?
Yeah, Kristen Williams.
Kristen Williams is going to be here. Any relation?
No, she. But I played for a team called the Wolfpack when I was in 5th grade. Timothy was on my team. And his little sister was Kristen, and she was just like a little gym rat. She was always at basketball practice, always playing with the guys, and we were like, she'll probably end up being a pretty good basketball player one day.
Now look.
Best in the country.
Yeah, so we all need to show up and support her when they play here.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I think that's all my favorite trivia questions for you right at the moment. Do you have anything that you're currently working on or projects that you feel like our listener base, which is based mostly in real estate, would have the ability to go out and do, on your behalf if they said, man, I really like that guy. That was a fun interview. I want to go out and help. The name of that shelter, is there something that we can do?
Oh, yeah. Women and Children First. That's an organization that pretty much switched names and which took care of my mother and I when we got here. And they've just, been incredible. And their board and their staff is just second to none. You know, we do fundraisers for them each and every year. We have one day on my show. I'm so thankful. My boss, Austin Kellerman at KARK, is probably the best news director boss anyone could ask for. And I think anyone who has worked with him or for him would attest to that. And so he is all about supporting his coworkers, and he knows women and children first. It means a lot to me. So we put together this thing called DJ's Day of Action. And we didn't do it last year. I think they had a switch in staff, but the year before we raised over $38,000 in one day.
That's
you know,
amazing.
and our morning show is only from 5 to 7.
Wow.
You know, so I mean, so it's a big need, and you know, the things with how they have shifted in the government, the funds that used to help those programs, you know, stay afloat, they're losing a lot of them. So just think if that were the case when I was a kid and my mom had nowhere to go. You know, forget about me playing football, forget about me being on the news. My mom would have been in a situation where she would feel like she had to stay around a man that could potentially not just kill her, but her children as well. So it's very important to me. So anybody listening, Women and Children First, big time organization, please feel free not just to donate money. The biggest impact I've had was a lady named Dee Dee who donated her time and just spending time with the kids there at the shelter. That meant a lot because, like you said, it's not just physical, it's a lot of emotional abuse too. They need people to know that they can come and care about them as well.
Yeah. So on DJ's Day of Action this year, we will be there
Hey,
to
I love
support
it.
you
Yeah,
and try
right
to
on.
get as many people as we can to support you there
I'm
as
all
well.
about
Maybe
it.
we could even have a basketball tournament where I beat you,
Oh,
and then I
okay.
give you all the money.
That'd
that
be
I
cool
win.
for that.
Okay.
It'd be awesome. Yep.
Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your
course.
story and for coming on. I feel like you're one of those guys who, you know, got really big and then was humble enough to come on this
Of
little
course.
local podcast.
Yeah,
and
I
answer my
love this
questions,
stuff.
so.
I love the setup. Yeah, you got it going on.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll be back on our Friday show where we tell everybody the best things about real estate in Central Arkansas.
I love it. I love
Thanks
it.
so
All
much,
about
DJ.
it. No problem.
Signing off. Block Talk, we're out.